So you want to start a Pokemon vending business in 2026? Well, here's what I've learned. So I started vending last year in 2025 alongside a full-time job, of which this full-time job took me away from the game for a few months, but I'm now back in. So what am I changing from last year's setup and what I was having to this year's kind of strategy? Last year, I was working with 2 tables, and obviously the more tables you have at a show, the more it costs, right? I'd have 2 tables and I'd have a mix of Disney Lorcana, which is what I started with, and Pokemon. Now the percentage I'm currently working with is around 65-70% Disney Lorcana, mainly the bulk side of that, and the rest of it being Pokemon. And eventually we'll get to a 50-50 split, which we are closing in on, which is ideal. With that being said, obviously the majority of buyers are there for Pokemon. And at the time, there was not many for Lorcana. However, the ones that were after Lorcana would obviously come to stalls and tables like myself where they could get that from, because there wasn't many. Lorcana is now becoming a bigger thing, so people are looking more towards that, which is great, you know. However, Pokemon will always be top dog. Bear in mind, if you're looking to vend other TCGs, that the people that come in for those specific cards, items, are less so than what you'd find with Pokemon. So how does my strategy change then from last year to this year? So shows. If you're trying to get shows can be hard to come by, okay? There is, what I feel, a lot of competition now with vendors getting into shows, and obviously shows trying to cater for those vendors. So getting in can be hard. What I'd say is stick to your local shows as best you can, especially to start off with. I stuck to a local show. My first one was local, and it actually turned out to be all right. Sometimes the local shows will end up being better than the bigger ones, just for the sheer fact that you've got more vendors in the bigger ones, obviously more people as well, but in the smaller ones, less people but less vendors, so people are more inclined to buy from you. Something to bear in mind. So this year I've gone for 1 table. So I've booked quite a few shows. I think I've booked 6 shows currently leading me up to August. I'm always on the lookout for more. So up until that time with these card shows, I've only booked 1 table. Okay, normally, like I said, I'd have 2. Okay, I've gone for 1, a slightly different layout setup, and of which, if you watch my vendor POVs in the future, you'll see the setup which I mean and which I'm utilising with the 1 table. For example, I've got a tripod with a display case just offset from the table rather than on the table itself. I'll have a display case on the table, some binders, I'm talking 3 binders, and then some room that I could pull forward some bulk, which will be on a shelf towards the back of me. I've not tested this yet, so it'll be interesting to see come Saturday, which is my next show, my first show back of this year, of where I test this setup to see if it works. Who knows? Now, some of you might want to understand and think about finances and how much will it cost to start this process. And what I'd recommend to you is, ideally you've got a personal collection, yeah? What I'd say is you need to part ways with that personal collection, okay? You need to get rid of it in order to generate the cash flow and generate the traction that's going to come. If you're, putting 500 quid to £1,000, which you probably will need to, into, your vending process and the start of it, then yes, it's doable, but I think it'll be harder to do if you hadn't already got those products good to go from your own personal collection. And if you think about it, and I saw a video not too long ago, and it was, I'll paraphrase slightly, but it was in these terms, right? We as collectors, we are in it for a short time frame. And what I mean is, you're in it until you decide to get rid of it and sell it because the price has gone up, or you just need it for a house, you've had a new kid, for example, a new baby, or you pass away. Okay, your collection when you pass away, for the next person you leave it to, arguably, they're probably going to sell it, okay? That collection is there to look pretty and just look at. If you leave it in like the loft or you leave it in a bookcase or something, it's just there to get out every now and again, right? But what actually what does it do for us? Okay, whereas you could, vend and be in the community and have a business essentially inside the collection space, the collectible space. So you're collecting items constantly, but you're not keeping them, right? I've got a 151 Blastoise, love the card, gonna have to sell it, okay? I may get in another cool card that I like and I'll have it for 2 weeks and it gets sold again. You're enjoying these cards as they transition to you, to another person. Okay, that's what I'd say in this regard. You are quite literally just short-term enjoyment, get rid of it. Short-term enjoyment, get rid of it. And that's how you got to play it, unfortunately. There will be times as you start to do this though, don't get me wrong, as you start to do this, there will be times where you are able to maybe have this card you've got given, you really like it, and you have the ability with the funds placed that you can put this in your PC, okay, your personal collection. There is elements and times where that may come to fruition. So that is also a benefit, but not yet, okay, not yet. You're gonna have to part with your personal collection. And let me show you some bits. So I currently vend with 3 binders, okay. I've got a top loader binder here, little red one, which has got, I'll show you one page there, Lorcana bits, okay. So your bigger Lorcana cards, which are found in that. I then vend with a big black binder here, which has got, again, your Lorcana cards, okay. These are like your foils, super rares and above, mainly. I then only have the one binder for Pokemon, which is everything I've got Pokemon wise, which is under £10, yeah. So there's a few bits there, and if I just turn a page to somewhere random, here we go. Again, just little bits there. So everything under £10 is in a binder. You can set it up however you see fit. Yeah, you can have set binders, you can have Pokemon binders. In the binder, what I mean is you've separated Pokemon inside the binder, you separate sets inside the binder. I've just got it as price binder, and as you go down or through the binder, the prices get lower. So if you're looking, you've got a budget, for example, it's great, right? Let me show you some slabs. See, like these slabs, yeah? These slabs I've got here are my personal collection, but we gotta get them sold. We gotta get them sold, they gotta go. They gotta be part of the stock, okay? They gotta go to a better home, a better life. Okay, so slabs, all ace graded slabs. If you're at a show and you're buying slabs, would you prefer to buy a slab with, as it is, no guard? Or would you prefer to see a slab stand out a little bit more with a guard on it? What would you prefer? It's interesting because I've started, again, here's another process of mine, I've started buying guards to make the slab pop when it's in the case, make it stand out. So I've started buying guards. We also have, for the Lorcanas out there, Lorcana fans, boom. There you go, ace graded with the bumpers, good to go. Those are some slabs. This is my first time vending PSA. And I've got a few PSA slabs here. I had a friend of mine sell essentially his like Alakazam collection. He loves Alakazam and a few others there. But yeah, so we've got some PSA for sale, which will be interesting to see the difference on how movements are with PSA and with Ace. Let me show you my personal favourite PSA one that he gave me. It's got Umbreon on it, yeah? That's going to be sought after. It's got Umbreon. And singles wise, that will be in the display are predominantly, if not all minus these three are Lorcanas, yeah, Lorcana Enchanted. The rest of them are all Pokemon. Yeah, so, a little bulk load of singles there, which are all Pokemon, should be in the display. So you think about the displays then, 2 displays, one of which is slabs, primarily Pokemon slabs with a couple of Lorcana bits. And then I've also got a display of raw singles, which are predominantly Pokemon. However, there are a few Lorcana bits in there as well. Then I've got sealed. The sealed product, I've got loads of sealed products. Again, the vast majority is Pokemon. So now, because I've recently bought these in, I would say we are getting to a 50-50 split of Pokemon and Lorcana. Again, Lorcana takes up my bulk. So if any of you are looking for bulk Lorcana cards from series 1 to, I think, 8, 1 to 8 is what I've got so far. I've got loads of cards for you, okay? And they'll be on the display behind me in their troves. I'll pull them forward, you can have a look. I also have, you know, in here, bulk Pokemon cards for anyone looking to complete their collections. So, to end the video, I won't say what I have spent so far on the vending journey, and I won't say what I've made, okay? All I'll say is currently, okay, just due to the sales online, I've started tracking the financial process only of the last month, I've made back 1/5, okay? Out of what I've spent, I've made back 1/5 just for a couple of sales online, all right? So these card shows need to come in clutch and then bring me back up through those fifths in order to get back to where we need to be. We shall see if that works. Hey, stay tuned, follow the process. You'll see the vendor POVs, and at the end of each of them, I will let you know if it was a successful show or a non-successful show. Other than that, peace.